Unmute myself. Why was mine muted? I didn't think I'd click mute. That's interesting. Let's see here. So that's probably a good position for the camera. I didn't draw that. That's going to be classes in here before us. It looks like what they're doing is dealing with what looks to be a murder, I would guess, because that gun's not in that own person's hand. That thing right there. Ooh. That's something somebody's seen. Oh, rough stuff right there. That's why I love our field. There's a lot of nasty stuff in here, and it's one of the few times that things get real. Very, very real. Evidence class. What did we talk about last time? There's sections in here I'm going to talk about. Let's say that it was over here. The table of contents. Okay. So we've been dealing with circumstances, inferences, evidence, direct and circumstantial, right? Direct or indirect kind of thing. When we were talking about that, what's the difference between those two things? We spent a lot of time talking about inferences and what they are. We'll talk a little bit more about some too, and how to establish those things. Because I just realized I didn't talk about too much specifics, so we'll get into that a little bit. Okay. Direct versus circumstantial evidence. We did talk about that last time, did we?
Direct is when someone actually proves it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be able to say it was there.
Speaks to facts at, say, issue, facts at hand, whatever you want to say there. Yeah. Wait, this thing does the same thing. Oh, I know what it is. This one speaks about it directly. You don't have to make it. That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No inference needed. This one, inference will be needed. So we start dealing with that. Different things can mean different things. The same behavior can be seen. Whoever sees it, talk about communication. How many times is it you see someone do something or they say something, and it's like, that didn't make sense. They said one thing, then did something that was different. Didn't line up. Right? That happens a lot. As you start looking at that, and you start really thinking about things as stories build and things add up. You start weighing things. As you're weighing them, how it comes together. You start pulling out different insights. Miscommunication is a hard one because as we talk, I might say something and you'll think it's one thing. You might think it's another. My favorite one as of late has been, I love you to death. Right? Because there's a lot to get into that. That's a methods one, really. What is love? What is death? Who's are we talking about? Right? And if you want to talk about like the domestic violence stuff that you deal with, right? They're the most dangerous because it's everything and nothing. Right? Don't want you to know anything about it. It's personal, but it's my entire life. It's nothing. Wait, it's everything. Which one is it? Really confusing stuff. Most stuff is. This is everything being brought together all at once. So this is some of the most confusing stuff and easiest to use to build in different directions from what actually is the truth, if you're not careful. Right? As you start building information to make inferences, you make sure you're doing it right. Because if you don't, it's not good. Evidence. I'm dealing with a police report. In this police report, we had a shooting. It was a traffic stop. It didn't go well. The person was non-compliant, and it escalated to the point at which I pulled out my taser we're having a physical tussle. I lose track of the taser. I think he has it, and I can't tell what he's doing. So I pull out my gun and I start shooting. Right. As I'm shooting, that guy's running away from me. So I pop about 8 rounds into his back, and then he falls over dead. Right. As I'm doing that, I'm kind of looking around. Okay. Got a lot of evidence here. First thing as an officer, I'm going to have to do at some point after this thing is write a report. Yes. So you have physical facts there. You also have people's reports and stuff to start comparing and seeing where things line up and where they don't. But you're looking at that report. How well does that report align with the incident as it unfolds?
Very strong.
Depends on whether or not you see something of substance, right? What's there? What's real? We're trying to figure out what's real, right? Most of us are. Hell, I don't even know what reality is anymore sometimes. That's philosophy for you, though, if you really get into it. Here. YouTube.
Your team comes
I don't
to
hear a
get
video.
started.
Stop that. I just want to go into YouTube. All right, so we were looking at. That story sound familiar to anybody? Person shot in the back like 8 times after us. Oh, okay, this is an older one. Forgot about this one. When I say you guys, I don't mean you specifically. I mean society kind of thing, because they'll forget about them easily because there's so many of them that keep happening. Let's see. Shall I do it this way to get the names? No, it's officers killed. It's not pulling it up. Videos. All right, let's do it this way. False police report. That might get it. No, it still doesn't because it's so damn common. I'll have to look up the name and I'll send a link to you guys maybe or something like. I'll give you the names. I can't remember the people involved, but this was out in I want to say Tennessee, something like that, a few years back. Police incident. It was a traffic stop. Altercation ensued. Taser gets smacked out of the guy's hand. As the suspect's running away, there's taser's not involved. That suspect's not in danger. Officer pulls out a gun, shoots down the back 8 times. Right? Second officer shows up. As the first officer's showing up, I can actually see the first officer had gone and picked up the taser and went and dropped it over there next to the suspect. Right? In the report itself, when you look at the report, the big glaring thing you'll see is both officers reported that they tried to render aid to that person while they've been shot in the back and dying right there. When you watch the video, you can see no aid is given there at all. Why would you have that in your report? Why would you put in the report that you've given aid to a person you hadn't?
I mean, just an attempt to make yourself look better so people think you didn't do anything wrong. Yeah.
Standard procedures. You should. They didn't. They violated procedures. They had no problem lying about it. They had no problem lying about it in print where it's kept forever and used in a court case. They're okay with that. What else in that report's going to be false? No way of knowing. So that's the best assumption. That's how it works. Yeah, this whole thing's wrong. Person who said it, I'm going to think they're wrong too. I'm not going to believe the damn word they say. Right? Interesting thing about reality. I'll talk about you for a second about that one with you. Why I said that. Why I said that. I'm a hard thing for me. Some things we do cause a change for the future, right? Some things we don't do anything. Is there anything that we can do that changes the past? Lie. Tell a lie, guess what? Everything that's ever happened in the past, I'm going to go back and reevaluate it. That's what happens there. It's like, yeah, don't lie ever in these things. Ever. In any way. Ever. Right? Because what just happened with that lie, I have now just proven that you are capable of lying in a very important way for this. yes, I can no longer trust you. I've just changed all the past too, because whatever happened, I'm gonna be looking at it differently because the intent there changed across all things. In criminal law, that's where intent starts to come back in, right? Yeah, all these things fit together. This is just one side. Some things need inferences better than others. Right, I think I talked about means, motive, and opportunity, stuff like that. MO, someone's modus operandi, how do you pronounce that? How they act normally. This aligns with their normal standard behaviors. And that's what we think happened here. Hey, we're starting to build up that inference. Hey, they normally do this, right? It's not the domestic violence where the person's being told that they're a good person. Well, he's not a good person. He's a very violent person. If they start out that way, it's like, yeah, that inference there is going to be very powerful. Oh, so you have to manage all of that. Like I said, some things very, very quickly add up. This one right here. This one's going to be behavioral. Light. Procedures, people? You guys had procedures before? What's the role of flight?
They're running away, you can't shoot them in the back.
You can't shoot them in the back, but why are they running away? Big questions what that introduce. That is going to be circumstantial evidence. It's not just that, I don't know, let's see where it be. It's not just that the $1 million went missing. It's this person left the country too. I'm thinking they took it. Right? That kind of a thing. In policing, where it is if you see it, you can't do anything with it unless you've got something else. If you got something else to add into it, give it that weight, you go after them. Same thing here. Right? You start building that up and see if that's what people believe whenever they get to the end of the trial. Right? A whole bunch of those things like that. You got sudden wealth, concealment, that kind of stuff. Why are you hiding stuff? Is there a reason to hide stuff? Is it privacy involved? Is it public information? Why are you hiding stuff? Why are you being non-compliant? Are you doing something wrong? That's a dangerous one to get into. Start doing that. What happens to your privacy? You don't have it, right? So you know when to say, yeah, I get my privacy, but also I need to be able to establish my case here. So it's very important that you know that. All right. Ooh, let's see. Direct versus circumstantial and circumstantial inferences of guilt. That's kind of what I was talking about there. Means, motive, opportunities, use what I talked about before. Guilty actions and consciousness of guilt is what you start getting. Are you aware of something wrong? Right? That's what you're trying to establish. Why would you do this? Are you aware that this also looks like this? If so, why are you still doing it? That kind of thing. So you build up those arguments. That kind of speaks to that. That feel a little bit better? You see, guys, see how that works a little bit? Okay, good. All right, what else did we talk about? Ooh. Inferences that you can't draw. What's an inference you can't use? Someone does or doesn't do something, you cannot use this at trial whatsoever. Mention it in terms of Rittenhouse. Why aren't you talking? If I start calling it in question directly, I just created a huge constitutional violation of your right, your Fifth Amendment rights. So that's the space you need to work in. Right? You make it a confession. That's not likely to happen. Otherwise, you're right here and some right here to build these without violating that. Other things too, but that's the working space for just that issue. So you got emissions by conduct, that kind of stuff. Other things. Right to counsel, that's another one you can't be like the same thing as this. Constitutional rights, if you start using those against the person, why are you using your rights? Well, come on, if you have to ask that question, you don't have those rights. And the system goes corrupt immediately. Okay. Substitutions for evidence. Let's talk about that for a second. Sometimes there are things that are agreed to as factual that aren't in the evidence. So there's processes for that. That's where I need to talk about stipulations kind of thing. So I won't go through the process just yet today, but during the process, the lead up to trial, there's going to be a whole lot of work done between the prosecution, defense, and the judge kind of thing. We talk about working through stuff. Everything from, discovery all the way to, well, just said discovery, Raymond discovery to trial itself. And so that's a lot of time for things to take place, a lot of time for discussions to be had. We start getting into that. I'm going to say here is stipulations. There are some things both sides will agree on as fact, so they don't have to establish it at trial, right? Some things you have to establish. Every fact you have to establish at trial, unless it's something like the sky is blue. And then you might have to establish that if it was a cloudy day. That's how bad it is, right? That's literally how bad it is sometimes. Stipulations are one of the ways we address this. If it's not consequential, or if it's something that, even if it is consequential, sometimes they'll agree to just stipulate it. We'll agree to that. Good example. We've got an expert witness coming in for the defense. I'll agree that he's an expert. You don't need to go through and take the time to show he's an expert. If I'm a prosecution, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to agree that this person's an expert? Maybe I have a really weak case, and if I let it be heard what that person's expertise really is, it's going to have so much weight in the case that it's going to invalidate my case. But yeah, let's just agree to it. It's not that this person's just an expert in this area. They're the number one leader in this field. Like, here'd be an example. I don't know if this guy still does this. Self-defense shootings, guy by the name of Massad Ayub. Never heard that name before. You should, right? Defense has got this guy coming in. I'm going to just agree to his expertise. It's not the fact that, it is literally the fact that it's going to have such a bearing on this case if I have to start going through his credentials. Because by the time we're done, everyone's going to know that this guy is such an authority that we really don't necessarily need this trial. This is an evil trial that I'm conducting because I want power. Welcome back to the system. Ooh, if I said, what was it, the assistant director of the Department of Justice was in the news recently? Did you hear anything about that? It's in some news. Didn't go as wide as it should. Caught on record saying that some cases that have gone through state level courts in certain places were massive miscarriages of justice. That's one of your number two people in charge of that entire thing saying that off camera in an honest conversation. You should probably be aware of it. Why aren't you? Sometimes things are hidden from you on purpose. You should be looking for that too. Mind the gaps. Right? Not just about the mountains you have to climb. Is it a plateau and you're going to fall off when you get up there? Or is it just a bit straight in the hell? Be careful with this. It's dangerous. Okay. Inferences, stipulations, presumptions. We started talking a little bit about. I remember that part. I think that's where we ended. So presumptions. not quite the same thing as a stipulation. Because a stipulation is something that they have to agree to, both sides, and then they'll enter it in as fact. You don't have to establish it. A presumption is one you don't even have to agree to. It's just presumed to be the case, right? These things are all over the place, right? The first one that you should be aware of, the first thing you should think of when you think about presumptions, what is it? Most important thing in all of human history, right there. You guys were quiet on it. Don't do that again. Okay, that's an important one. You ever hear the word presumption? The first thing that should come to your mind, this right here. You're innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty. End all be all. You're in jail beforehand. I think that's a massive miscarriage of justice. But you've not been proven guilty of anything. But at the same time, you represent a risk to society, maybe, and that's why we should keep you there. That's not what it is. You shouldn't be in there. Get the hell out. That one is a big one. Okay. What's another one? Any others? I'll give you a good one. Reasonableness. Is this reasonable? I don't know, is it? It's the other side of your cruel and unusual. It's the other side. Is it reasonable? What does that mean? What does it mean to be reasonable? Fair. Fair. Big part of it. Fair. Fair is the fundamental thing there. Across all people. It's not going to be the same for all people, but across all people, considering all things. This is where we would find reasonable to be in this huge spectrum of things. This is reasonable. 48 hours, we're going to hold you 40 hours. We're going to figure out what we're going to charge you with or whatever. That's reasonable. Longer than that is not. You're going to sit in jail for 48 hours until you're arraigned or whatever, right? And so they keep you for 49. Can they? Means they keep you for 156. Can they? Means they keep you for 3 years. Can they? No?
I mean, and shouldn't though.
Exactly. People are so focused on what they can do rather than what they should. Isn't that the problem? Yeah. So now we know what that problem is. The answer is, do they have a justification? If they have a justification, and the answer is now maybe. Massive miscarriages of justice. You don't follow that. Unless you're a terrorist. Then we'll hold you forever. Doesn't matter if you're a US citizen or not. Are we doing that to anybody right now? You don't know? Probably go look. That's a good place to start. This can happen very, very easily. Guy I like to point out is a guy by the name of Tommy Robinson over in London, England. Not London itself, England. He spent wasn't quite a year in solitary confinement, being starved and tortured, literally, psychologically tortured, without ever even having a trial. Not even a trial, didn't even get to enter in a damn plea. Got brought before a judge, doesn't get to enter a plea, take him directly to prison. Solitary confinement. We're going to move him around a lot. And we're going to put him in the most dangerous of places. Why would you do that? Oh, they're just trying to kill him because they put him with a group of people that he has been identified as racist towards. Okay, learn how to fix that racism. You'll learn this way, or you'll die. You gave him a death sentence. Tried to. That's a Western country. It's like us. And you don't even know if we're doing that to our own people right now. Why don't you? The answer is yes. Of course we are. Next sentence is who? You should go look. Some of those are reasonable, some of those are not. That's you. Welcome being human. Welcome being in this society. You guys need to do something about that one. I can't do that one. All right. Stipulations, presumptions, judicial notice. I'm trying to remember that. I don't remember that. I'd actually look that one up. That's sad because that one's a really simple one. That's going to do something with judicial notices to the jury, if I remember correctly. But I'll have to look that one up in a second. This stuff is important. Know what your baselines are. Know what your thresholds are. Know that everyone's trying to move you, and most of them try to move you by withholding information. Because if I did withhold just a little bit of information, you might not know what's really going on. My argument's a little stronger. That's a little bit of the dark side of the legal things with this stuff. Here you start getting the things that are real, maybe tangible, maybe not. They start to build into something. You have to build. Okay, that's enough about that one. Let's see where we left off on this thing. If you're right, this isn't the right book, but I'll pull in some of the information in it because there have been some changes here. That's gonna be over here. I think downloads. This is Gardner. That's what it is. What is this one? This is an old one. I like this one too. I got probably 3 or 4 of these different books just for this class kind of thing. So let's check this one. 3. Using evidence to determine guilt. Yeah. Did we go through this one already? I don't remember. Many sayings, rules of evidence don't apply. Lee versus state, yes. We did this one, rules of evidence. No, not guilty plea. That's where we need to go. We'll go with the pleas. Okay. So we talked a little bit about processes. That process is going to start with, of course, being arrested, then being charged, then being, that. Right? Where you start getting into here's your arraignment, your preliminary hearings, entering your pleas, that kind of stuff you move into the system. It's a little different based on what state you're in or what level, but basically it all follows the same kind of flow. As you're doing that, let's go back up a little bit. Here's where it's talking about preliminary hearings. Initial appearance, that's the arraignment. Bail is set. Preliminary hearing. So this is one of those places where, if you don't meet those thresholds, you get kicked out. Same thing for whenever you file the information, you file the grand jury hearing. Whenever they have that hearing, it's all to make sure that it can move forward. So that's where they start talking about that. Interest and so plea at arraignment, it's bound over for trial. So that plea. Or pull it up and show it to you guys. Let's see what you know about those. So you're going to enter in a plea. What are those different types of pleas? Guilty. Could be a plea deal. Maybe. Literally just felt that thing off. Text messages. Guilty. Not guilty. What else? Yeah. No contest. I spelled that correctly. No contest. Did I spell that correctly? I have no idea. No low contendere. Probably mispronouncing that. No contest. Yeah. Okay. I saw this one on there, so I know we'll talk about that. I want to talk about this one too. See, there's another one that's like it. Nolo contendere. Alfred. I got the insanity one. Insanity's kind of its own thing. But that plus others. We'll talk about that in a second. This thing. This thing. This thing. this thing all overlap. Right? You know, guilty and not guilty are two separate ones, obviously. These will overlap. Okay. No contest. What does that mean? Kind of, sort of. Basically, what you're saying is you got enough there to prove your case. I'm not gonna fight. This one's different. And this one, I'm also saying I'm not guilty, but you got enough to prove your case. I think that's the name of the book / movie. Devil's Knot. Group of teenagers that basically had a murder pinned on them, kind of thing. There was enough evidence there to start questioning, enough facts coming out after the case, but for some reason, government doesn't want to revisit that. You had your fair trial. Well, we've gotten some appeals, and let's just, we're going to appeal and we're going to change our verdict, or our we're going to plead this. Why? Okay, let's start and think about that for a second. Why would you not want someone who's innocent to come out? Any ideas? Yeah, why would you have someone who's been convicted guilty, who looks to be innocent, and not let them out?
I mean, if you think they're guilty of something else,
Yeah,
you
to be
can't pin that on them.
guilty of something. Okay. That's a good way to address psychological burdens, kind of thing. He might not have done this, but he did something. Feel okay. That's the inquisitorial system. That's why it goes out that way. I don't need to feel bad about the fact I'm killing people. You don't have to. You're just evil. To be honest. That kind of a thing. Okay, that could be one reason.
Does it go back to they can, but they shouldn't type of thing? They can't keep him in jail, but they should.
Yeah, that's what you can do, that's what you shouldn't. Yeah. In that instance, you had your fair trial. It's not meant to be imperfect or perfect, it's meant to be imperfect. It's just, yeah, that's just the way it was at the time. You had your trial, you had your time, you're done. Go sit in prison. Even though it's the wrong conclusion. You're not guaranteed that you get the right conclusion. However, what you are guaranteed is if they screw it up real bad and they take huge portions of your life, worth this. Money. How much is my life worth? How much is the criminal's life worth whenever it's found out that, yeah, no, they weren't a criminal as an innocent person, you just stole their damn life away? You better pay me a big damn chunk of change. Right? Yeah, that's part of it. What else? What are other reasons? So there you go. Where do we sit on that one today? The interaction between money and power, is it still a problem? Yeah, as soon as you got what I started saying, like, what do you mean? Yeah, those things are huge problems in our society. This thing's supposed to be separate from this. Is it? I don't know. How many people are on death row right now awaiting DNA tests that are easily done? Not easily done by those genetics places because they got a lot of stuff to do, but still, same time, clock may be ticking on them. Some of those it's ticking down because we've got a terminal point that we know is coming. right? This is important stuff. That one, they don't have to pay out. That's why they're allowed to enter it in and get their freedom back. Fine, we'll give you your freedom, but you're not getting our money. Will you take it? What's more valuable to you? Well, they've already sat in prison for how many years? How many decades? Yeah. Where's the justice? It's just us. We're just people. Trying to, doesn't always work. Some of us are evil. All of us are evil, actually. You just have to watch for it and make sure you're not doing it. Hold on. It's harder than what you think, though. Oh, the last one. You stand mute. You don't say anything. What do you think they assume? You don't say anything. No. Say nothing at all. The process does not require you to be involved. You just have to find out the truth. You can just sit there. Just like being in prison. You don't need to be necessarily involved there, but you're going to be there. Right? That's this whole system. All of them. Those are the big ones. At the end of the day, you might have someone who does this, though. Yeah, they're a bad person. Ooh, that's still evil. That's actually just as evil, more evil, because that one will. I don't know if that is more evil. It's just evil. All it's evil. Think about that one. Good luck with that one. All right. Substitutions for evidence. We talked about that. Guilty pleas, not guilty. Rules of evidence. We already talked about that. Opinion, evidence, rule, hearsay rules. Okay, so those are a few different things that require a lot of discussion. I don't want to deal with opinions yet because I need to read on that one some more. Before I read, I can talk about that. Hearsay, though. You guys know what hearsay is, right? What is it?
Heard something, not 100% sure it was true.
Correct. There is no way to establish even to one scintilla. I like that word. I just want to use that. It's very church when it's legal. Scintilla. One thing. Slightest of things. No way to determine whether or not the statement itself is accurate. What does it prove? Does it prove anything? Yes, thinking.
It raises some question marks, I'd say.
It does raise some question marks. So did those question marks with Descartes, right? Found something. What was it? Proof that someone said it. Now someone said it. Did they say anything else? Oh, how does that align? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to look at that word judicial notice now because I don't remember it. The hell was that word? Well, evidence in this one, I'd like to cross-reference that. Judicial notice. I think it's going to have to do with like things like jury instructions and that kind of stuff. So let me take a quick look because they'll identify things that are stipulated. That's too far. E, F, G, I, J. And of course, it's not even in the dictionary for this thing. That's hilarious. Well, there it is. Action taken by the court to make a determination of fact without the formality of examination by a jury. Same kind of thing, stipulations. It's just something from the judge. Judge can do that in terms of a number of different things. First and foremost among those are matters of law. I will tell you how this thing works. Because in this realm, this law is this. Realize though that they're going to give you the laws as they're written in statutes and things like that. So they're going to be written to where they are open for interpretation. Same thing with like jury instructions. At some point, they'll probably start talking about that. Judicial, something the judge's role. You give those to the jury. If you're not careful, you can invalidate an entire trial just by giving them instructions. That's it. We need a clarification on this. No, I can't give you that one. If I give you that one, then I'm invalidating the trial. You go figure it out. That happens a lot. Have to do that. Okay. Exclusionary rule. Testimonial privileges. We talk about testimonial privileges some. Let's talk about it a little bit farther. Doctor patient, who gets to make that choice is whether the doctor talks.
Isn't it the patient?
Yes, husband, wife. Husband's the one who's charged. Who gets to decide whether or not the wife talks? The wife. Yeah, the wife. No one controls each other in that way. No one gets to choose when you speak. Ever. That's the rule of this country. That's why I say shit so much. Right? Why I cuss in class? I don't, that's the point. If I get in trouble for that, then it's not where I want to be. I'll go do something different. The not guilty plea. Yeah, all presumed innocent. Yeah, there you go. Burden of proof. We need to talk about that a lot. Because some of these pleas, it's gonna be these. Change that around some. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. These things are called affirmative defenses. We'll probably have a whole chapter on that in this book. I'll have to look through it. I don't remember. I remember when I looked at the book. It wasn't that book thing. I do remember that. Just don't remember what that book looked like. Or where it's at. Affirmative defenses, where you're saying there's like the insanity case. I didn't have any control there. That's not me. That's the illness. Right? That's a product of the illness, maybe, or something like, or I couldn't understand right from wrong. Maybe that's what it is to be crazy, right? What's up and down? Family member, he's got schizophrenia. One point in time, he's talking to the walls like a person, right? Yeah. What they're going to do next, they may not know exactly what it is they're doing. That's real, right? That person they're talking to in the walls is real to them as you are. They're not going to appreciate right and wrong. You know, it'd be wrong to punish them. That's just wrong. We're talking about illness, mental illness. Ooh. About this one, we'll end up talking about stuff like this when we get into it. Minor attracted persons. It's a mental illness now. It's not that they just want to rape kids. It's not that they're just evil. You've got sickness. It's a product of the illness. We should excuse it. The hell with that. That's my opinion, though. I'm biased on that one. Whole bunch of stuff. We'll call it something else and see if we apply it to it. Some people do that in court. They'll do that a lot. But it's changing the landscape of the argument, it's holding information, trying to present it in certain ways. Your job is to make sure that the truth comes out no matter what. So when you see those tricks coming, you know what to do. You put things right back to where they should be. That's why it's a back and forth. Why you have examination, cross-examination, redirect, recross. You'll do this many times until I think we're done here. I think I made my point. It'll go on as long as it has to. Burden of proof is always on the state. Always on the state. We've already talked about levels. These types of things can flip it. You have to prove you're insane. You have to prove that because you're alleging it. People can flip it though. Had a case in Arkansas whenever they were doing constitutional carry. This has been back circa 2014, 12, maybe even later than that. I can't remember. Attorney General for the state. So the person who gets to make this decision, this call, identify the interpretation of the law. State law allows that if you're on a journey, which is defined as traveling outside of your county, you can carry openly. State law was changed to where so long as you're not engaged in criminal activity and not carrying a gun for the purposes of engaging in a criminal activity, you can carry your gun openly. Okay. Guy walks into McDonald's carrying a gun openly. Manager doesn't like guns. He's got a particular problem with that. It does represent danger. Is that a problem? Manager goes and tells the guy to leave. He says, I'm not gonna. I'd like my food now. Here's my money. He calls the police. Who's in the wrong? You can't tell. That's messed up. You should know that definitively. You need to work on that. In that case, you have the constitutional right to carry. That person, that place is a place of business for the public. I can walk in there at any point in time. If you ask me to leave, I can leave. Right? But if I stay around and we did, what are you criminal of? You know what they got him for? Carrying a weapon with criminal intent. You were carrying it because you wanted to create a scene. Prove to me you did not want to make a scene, and that's not why you were carrying the gun in the first place. But the fuck am I proving my innocence here? That's not what it is. He was found guilty. I never looked back into it. I need to. The last I heard it was under appeal, and that was what, 8 years ago, something like that. And meaning that person had some time of their life taken away when they weren't doing anything wrong whatsoever. I'm too busy to keep watch. You guys are even watching. Who's going to take over when we're not here? So I won't be here long, right? But I got 50 years. You guys got longer than that.
Was that case a handgun?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I saw one. There was 2 guys actually. They had assault rifles. You know, they walked into a police station. But the police lobby is a public place. So
Mhm.
technically they weren't doing anything wrong.
Mhm.
Of course, they got detained and taken.
Oh, hell yeah.
And everything, but they
Yeah.
ended up being okay. I just
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. Yeah, there's going to be an investigation involved. Oh, hell yeah. Did you do anything wrong? Now you're free to go. Right? That guy wasn't. They were making a point. That's a political thing. The attorney general was one side, the person who was the prosecutor in that area was another. Guess what you got? Miscarriages of justice. How far does that scale go? Does that start right there with you and me here at the local level, which I just identified one state over? Or does it go all the way to the top? If there's any chance of it going in any direction in that way, it's like you start getting some dangerous territory, you guys need to start watching that stuff. What happens is this whole thing goes away. Those presumptions switch, like they did for that guy. How was that? Okay. Here's what I start talking about affirmative defenses a little bit. Okay, United States, most people charged with felonies plead guilty. 90-something%. Basically, everybody pleads. And because defendants realize the evidence against them will result in conviction. They say most guilty pleas are entered because of that. How is it they came to that conclusion? This is stuff where I don't like. I see things in there that are like that. Most guilty pleas are entered because the defendants realize the evidence against them will result in a conviction. That's not a definitive statement. Where's that data come from? Maybe it's a logic thing. Is that the case? How do you know? The average person is unaware of how the system works as a whole. They don't know how to file anything. Why would they think it's the weight of the evidence that's going to come against them? How do they even know how to weigh evidence? I'm in a class and I had trouble with it. Right? That kind of stuff's everywhere. You need to watch for that too. Okay, foundations of valid guilty plea are defense voluntary admission and that they knowingly did it. We talked about that in procedures. Any types of consensual behaviors needs to be both voluntary and intelligent. You need to know what you're doing and you need to choose it yourself, not someone else choosing it for you. Right? Guilty plea. No constitutional right to plead guilty. State may create a statutory right to do so. That's interesting. In case you want to go to jail for something. You do get people who plead or confess to things that they don't do. So that's something. Yeah, don't need to go into too much. So here's where it starts talking into rules of evidence. Specifies 14 topics trial judge must address. Here you go. Right to plead, have an attorney, jury trial, information about possible sentences. Must address personally, open court to provide this information. So that's about procedures kind of stuff, how it's going to flow. This case, nature consequences. What's this one about? Yeah. Ooh, we should talk about that a little bit. When defendants plead guilty, they waive their rights. What rights do they waive? Depends on what time frame in the country you're talking about, right? Really, because until relatively recently, the standpoint that corrections would take for people was that you really weren't one. Really weren't one. Rights that you had, most of those are gone. That kind of stuff. It's like this one right here. Here's the ones you directly do. No compulsory self-incrimination. You will incriminate yourself. You don't get to stop talking. Right? You can reinstitute your rights though. You no longer get a trial. You don't get to even confront those who accused you. And it's just from the get-go. Right? That's before you get into what life is going to be like afterwards. Here's where it starts talking about the Alfred policeman. We've already talked about that. We're out of time for the day, though. You guys want to take off for the day and pick up this conversation next time? Good class. Cool. Feel like you learned something. Excellent. All right. Well, I will catch you all next time. Ooh. Yeah. Boom. All right. Chat. Excellent. 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 End meeting for all. Bye, everybody.